So, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mark K7TUM, at the Thurston County Emergency Operations Center. We're going to review the Emergency Communication Center, ECC, and that's down the hall there. Okay, so our meeting room is usually in there, although due to COVID, it's locked up and they're keeping that thing secure and sanitized. Here's the break room. So we're going to walk down here past the restrooms. You know, every new member should know where to relieve themselves. So there you go. And down here in the copier we have the radio room. Okay, and usually that door will be open when we're meeting, and usually the light will come on. Oh, I have no idea why it's not coming on now. Came on for me once, didn't come on anymore. Here we have our equipment. We have some things here, some things here, another thing here, thing 1 and thing 2 basically, okay? And we'll go over the details of that in a second, okay? But first off, what we want to cover here is what are you going to do when you're called to action here? What you're going to do is you're going to look at this here Tilley Road radio activation checklist. And you can see there in the beginning is turn on all radios, ensure they are on their proper frequencies. HF to WSEN frequency gives you that. VHF, UHF, so on and so forth. Well, I'll show you how to do that. Turn on the packet computer. I'll show you where that is and how to do that. Initiate a sign-in form. Okay, that's you know, record-keeping stuff. Initiate an event log, very important. Initiate a message log for each station. Obtain a briefing from the DEM, his or her representatives, to be certain you thoroughly understand. Okay, you understand that, so you get briefed. Initiate a net on the ORS frequencies. Okay, monitor capital peak repeater or the D3 net. Basically, just pay attention to what's going on the amateur bands. Assist travel control duties. Determine what frequency operator would like to use for travel control. That's an important little detail. Make the following announcement. So there's your announcement. Monitor the situation. Assist the DEM. And keep track of log everything. Okay, that's pretty simple, really. Okay, so the first thing it talks about here is turn on all the radios, ensure they're on their home frequencies. So what are all the radios? Okay, so we have radio 1B. All right, these are both dual band Yaesu FT7900s. Okay, just basic good radios. All right, this one here is set up to be a headset and to use the foot switch. Okay, they both can be. Their microphone is here in case you need to use the microphone. In order to set this up, what you do is you just flip on the power switch, obviously, and it should turn on. If it doesn't, then there's a power switch right there. I'm not here to tell you that necessarily. The apparatus for messing around with using the headset and the foot switch is here. This is where the microphone plugs in, and this is where the foot switch would go. So if you don't want to use the foot switch, you pull that out, and you put the microphone in there, and then you can use the microphone. But you won't be able to hear anything. Got to look around the camera. It's kind of hard to see with you. Kind of hard to coordinate when you're looking through your camera and trying to plug something into a hole. All right, speaker is back here. Okay, so right now that's plugged into the headset wire, right? Got that? Okay. If you don't want to use that, you just unplug it, and then you can tell you can hear it because you turned down the scratch. There's that wonderful noise, okay? Now, one of the things I'd like to point out to you is, once you get that in there, when you're fiddling around with this and this, I learned this the hard way. Those transistors are insulated, but the cans are hot with, like 27 volts. You don't want to let anything dangle against those, or it burns out basically the front end of this radio. So the head dies. The processor gets killed. So let's watch that, okay? Learning, from experience, okay? We also have a nice little cheat sheet, which should be nearby, which will tell you a bunch of things about these radios, okay? And they're nicely laminated, thanks to the other Mark, and they're really nice to look at. I'll get into one of those a little later. The only thing I would have you know as soon as you walk in is the most important thing is you're going to want to know what is NT7H, okay? Or what is WC7I? Well, this middle button right here, band set, that'll show you the frequency that you're on, okay? and then the knob will take you up different frequencies. But I use that all the time because sometimes I know the frequency, pardon me, more than I know, you know, WC7I is right there. Sorry, I can't see my own left hand. So usually this is on that. And if you want to know, are we on VHF or UHF? Well, we're on UHF or VHF here, okay? The other thing is this is the usual if you want to program the frequency yourself. But then if you wanted to do that, then you might want to mess around with tones and all other stuff. And I'm not here to train you on that. That's what, yeah, there we go. So you rotate, there's a couple of VFOs in there. So you got, yeah, all right, you understand that. You've been around the block, I'm sure. Okay. So those are the two things. Mainly you just want to know what that is, because that's going to tell you, you know, all you want to know about where you are right now, okay? The other radio, oh my goodness, look at the sun. Let's change angle a little bit. The other radio is exactly the same thing, but if we push that middle button, we'll see, oh, this one's on UHF, okay? I'm trying to stay out of the sun here, so it's a little bit of a bad angle. But the same idea applies. The difference here is I've got this one plugged into the microphone because I just use the microphone there, all right? The headset is unplugged, but it's plugged in back here. The the microphone part of the headset is plugged. These are full headsets, not just headphones, okay? So there you go. I like to keep these things like this. You'll see an awful lot of this stuff going on. Right now we're in the middle of the COVID thing. Hopefully we're toward the end of it. And the Emergency Operations Center is actually activated throughout this whole thing because it's an emergency. And so this space is all being used. And I'm going to have to go and put a whole slew of papers back where they belong for whoever's been using that as a desk, okay? We just kind of keep in mind that we're actually guests here, and we're here to serve them. And if they need the space, well, they get to use the space. Now, here we have what is referred to in the documentation as the packet rig, the packet radio. Okay, if we were using packet, and it still works, we'd have the Cantronics KPC, you know, what is that? I should know. Anyway, it's that famous Cantronics that everybody has, which is KPC 3 Plus. That's what it is. Okay, why is it not focusing on that? Focus on that so people can see it. Okay, but we recently got a license for Vera, for both FM, well, for any Vera, okay? And so we've also got a signal link plugged into it, and these settings should be observed, okay? We try to leave it on all the time, and we leave yet another Yaesu 7900 plugged in all the time and on 145.020. Now, the only reason I do that here is because that's not a published frequency. That is actually a frequency that if you look in your critical reference document, you'll see is set up as an alternate frequency that several of the gateways in town are hooked up to, but not published, okay? So you can get into that later on. I'm not here to discuss that necessarily. There's also a printer set up right here, which is also shared so that you could print from that machine over there if you wanted to, okay? This is TCARES 1 or 2. We're counting from right to left here, apparently. When you come in, you turn this on. I will give you a hint here, a secret that nobody knows. There's a logbook of all the times I come in here, and it's behind here. And if you look in there, you'll probably find out what the password has been changed to recently. So this should be on. And it's been configured so that when you shut the lid, it stays on, okay? The idea being you should be able to use this WinLink on Vera as a digipeater, because when you've got a Vera license, you can say, I want to, here you can see it right here. I want to contact direct to K7HTZ, or I can say via another Vera station that is not a digipeater, okay? So somebody down south could use our station to hop to K7HTZ up north, and that's a possibility, which we've tested. We've also had plenty of other discussions, but once again, I'm not here for that. Let's do the start thing here and see what we get. It's transmitting. 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 Oh, it says we're connected. Let's see how much mail we got. Normally we would do this. Oh, look at our VU meters just screaming. Let's turn the receiver down a little bit. There, we get it in the green. There we go. Yeah, about 575. That's good. So we're going to get a whole bunch of emails in here, just the stuff that we normally get. Okay, that said, we'll move on. We'll just let that crunch away at that for a while. As I said, the printer is shared. I should probably also mention that for those of you who are savvy with what you're doing on a computer, if we show the desktop and go into, there's a thing here. Oh, look, there's all the messages it wants to download. Let's tell it we want to download those. Yes. It's going to go off and do it. One of these is TCARES documents. This is a share across the room to the other machine. So there is ability to get documents from one to the other, as well as just print from one to the other. Okay, that's enough of that. We're not going to go into that anymore. Just know that that's available. They are networked together. And we'll put this back in, show me what's going on mode. This and this and this, and I like them in this order. That's just the way I like to do it. But look at us, we're downloading like crazy. Okay, now, that takes care of that. The packet station, which is currently a Vera FM station. The FM 2 meter and 70 centimeter radios. Both have foot switch capability. There's 2 feet switches down there. Okay. Now over here we have another PC which is hooked to, well, it's wireless to the Thurston County network, but it's also got WinLink on it. The HF radio that will do WinLink, okay, and the HF radio that will do 60 centimeters, okay. Now there's a few things I want to go over here. Once again, just the quick things that you should know how to do, okay. Sit down here and slide myself over. Now right now we're tuned to 3585 because that is the frequency that WinLink has put us on. And it looks like the waterfall says, oh, maybe we're on the edge of something, somebody transmitting. It also says it needs to be updated. I have to keep these updated because Thurston County won't let us run installers. Actually won't let us download them, but it'll let us run them. So I usually will connect to these remotely or come in with a thumb drive or something to update them. And now that we know so much about FLDigi, I need to get that updated too. Okay, here are the settings for this signal link. Please focus. There we go. Okay, so let's try and keep those, banked away. All right. Let's also keep in mind that here in the settings, if I go up to settings and I say sound card, these have been named signal link, okay? If you don't know how to do that, talk to me later. It makes it much easier. But sometimes this might not be set up this way. You might have to go to settings and tell it which actual sound device is the WinLink or the signal link USB sound card device, okay? Now when you get here, you're going to turn it on, okay? That's what it says to do, right? You say turn on, okay, so it's off. I say turn on, okay? Now, if the CAT control from the WinLink machine had not told it to go to 3585, it would be on the higher end of the data band. So what we'll do is let's shut this off for a second and see if it goes back to what we wanted. Where is my cursor? There we go. Okay, we're going to shut that off. All right, Vera is turned off. Yep, sure enough. CAT control went back to where it was when we left off, okay? This is the standard controls, you know this. Okay, there's volume, and then we got this cool thing that ICOM does where there's RF there. Your RF gain is going that way and your squelch is going that way. Some radios you get to choose one or the other. Okay, that's not nearly as important. If I was to get out and start talking on this, frequencies in use. If I was to get out and start talking on this, I might not notice that I was getting out, or maybe nobody would hear me. I want you to pay attention to that right there. ALC. ALC is very important on any radio because that when it reaches this end of the scale, it is truncating, it's cutting, it's limiting your voice, okay? But that means that if it's not getting to the top of the scale as your voice hits peaks, you're not modulating your signal to an optimum level, okay? So one of the things I found when I come in here is the mic gain is turned down for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. It's a huge detriment to signal link because the signal link needs to have a set gain level when it comes in. And I'm not sure, I can't even tell you, I'm not even really sure whether the mic gain level applies to the digital input or not. Okay? But there are some really basic things. I mean, there's all kinds of buttons over here you could get all, wrapped around the axle about. But all you need to know is, okay, first off, set. When you push set briefly, you're just toggling, see those? Now we're looking at the SWR, important. Now we're looking at power out, and now we're looking at ALC. I recommend you keep it on ALC, but if you pop you on over to SWR and key it, you should see something really low, right? But if you don't, that should be your hint. Wait a second. Okay, we need to tune. All right, so that's the set button. Just toggles between those three. All right, right below it, we have the tuner button. That actually says to tune. Let's go to a frequency we're not using right now. Somebody's not on. Let's jump to 3955. Somebody's there. All right, I'm going to call that clear. All right, and I'm going to just push the tune button. Watch what happens. You don't get any lights on that tuner. See the SWR go down? There you go, it's tuned. It's kind of important to do that, especially when you go from one end of the band to the other and you're trying to use WinLink down on the digital side, okay? Now we're up on the voice side on 75 meters. So it's important to know how to use the tune button. The other thing is, how do you get to the mic gain, all right? And this is it. This is the last thing, the second to the last thing I'm going to tell you, okay? If you push set and hold it, you get to a bunch of menus. And there it is, mic gain. I can now turn it down to, a ridiculously low number so that nobody can hear me, okay? This stock mic, I've been told it doesn't sound nearly as good, as robust as my stock mic at home. So, yeah, maybe we'll work on that at some point. But it is working, and so we're good with that. These little up-down buttons here, that's how you get to the next thing. And most of this is all CW, okay? There's Vox gain, Vox delay. We don't use Vox. There's CW. Oh, yeah, break in. The break-in delay, a key speed, key this, key that, tone, shift, dimmer, and then we're back to RF power. So really, the two you find most important is RF power and mic gain. And RF power at this point is high. We could dial that down if we were talking to somebody who was, really close, or just did, the HF rules, okay? And then we push and hold set, and it goes back to what it was, okay? It's all you want you to know. That's it. Well, I'm sorry, one more thing. The TS button. See that little caret right above the 2? See how it goes away? Now when I'm tuning, I'm crawling, okay? I'm going 10 kilohertz at a time. 10 kilohertz? That's 3 megahertz, 941 kilohertz. So, yeah, we're way down, okay? So, when you push the TS again, it moves the caret above there, and now you're zooming across the band, because now you're actually moving 1K at a time. And I'm at the far end of the general band, the low end of the general band. And see, I haven't turned the dial much at all. Now I'm into the extra. So you see my point. So I get to these guys and I might decide. So anyway, there you go. That's good enough for that. We don't need to hear any more of that. I will turn it off, and hopefully that made sense to you. Review. The set button briefly cycles between focus, SWR, power out, ALC. And I recommend leaving it on ALC so you can see your voice modulating things. Set button for 2 seconds gives you RF power, and a little up down buttons give you mic gain, RF power, or mic gain, RF power, okay? And then you hold on that set button again, and you're back to where you left off, okay? The tuner button, we talked about that earlier. You hold the tune down, and it tunes on this frequency, but we got people using it, so I won't do that, okay? I believe the tuners are supposed to pick up on what frequency you're on and automatically tune, but do you really want the first few seconds of your trying to establish a connection with somebody having the tuner try to key up? Remember, when you tune an HF rig on sideband, it doesn't send a continuous tone, but when you tune here with the tune button, let's go fast. All right, you push the button to go fast. Now we're on a noise, so we push tune, and you hear the noise. Hear the noise. I gotta hold it down. Yeah, that quick tune. Not much going on there. All right, on to the next radio. Power supply is here. Power supplies are normally down there, and they're normally on. But right now, a couple of our power supplies need repair, and this is the backup power supply. Okay, now onward to the 60 meter rig. The 60 meter is a very nice FT 857, which means it covers all bands, but we just kind of use it as a backup for that. Now, for the other bands, it's mainly for 60 meters. And right now you can see it's turned on to a frequency that is 60 meters. I will point out to everyone using an I'm sorry, not an ICOM, a Yaesu. These are pre-programmed frequencies. You dial 4, 5, channel 5, 60 meters, and you're off the scale. Now you're back to FM frequencies, memory 002, okay? Down 1, 605. These are pre-programmed, usually by Yaesu, okay? And I'll tell you why. 1, that's 5, 4, 3, 2, channel 1, and now we're off to regular frequency programming, cert 4, 93, 92, so on and so forth, as has been pre-programmed, okay? So, what am I going to say about this? First off, this tuner would be on all the time, and we don't like that. Let me turn the radio off with this button. Okay, it's off. Back here in the back, you'll see a plug, right there in the corner, okay? Right there, one of those. This has a little crook in it. I like to keep that little crook right here to remind you that before you operate this thing, you should plug in the tuner. So this is the way it should be left. Okay, so I'm going to plug that back in again. Reach back here. It's right on the corner. It's very easy to find. All right, there it's in. Radio is aligned. Okay, and now we can turn it on. All right, and let's listen to see if we hear anybody. I'll use the correct hand here. Not much going on there. The tune button is right here in the middle. Okay, there we go. You're tuned. And that is about all I really want to say about this radio, okay? People who use Yaesu, let me explain. I'll try to make it quick, okay? The frequency channels for, hang on a second. The frequency channels for 60 meters are as it says here, okay? So what it's saying here is the USB frequency, tuning frequency is 5330.5. But the data channel center is 5332 because what is that? That's about 1.5 what? That's megahertz, so that's kilohertz, 1.5 kilohertz wide. So when you're at 1.5 kilohertz off of the end, you are in the middle of a 3K bandwidth, which we're really only shooting for about 2.8, but 3K is how wide your signal should not be any wider than that. Now here's the problem. when you are speaking upper sideband, these are all supposed to be upper sideband. When you're on upper sideband on a Yaesu, it will display 5332, but it's really on 5330. See, isn't that what that says? 5332. If you hook that up to a device that could tell you what frequency you're actually on, like an SDR or some sort of frequency domain device, you would see that you're actually transmitting upper sideband off of 5330.5, which is where you're supposed to be for the USB. This confuses people to no end. I've left this on posts on the internet for people who own Yaesus, and there's always a certain percentage of people that come back and go, "Oh, really?" So let's not get all worried about that. Yaesu is trying to be helpful, and I'm not sure they're helpful there, but that's the facts. It's displaying 5332 as the center. It's transmitting on 5330.5, and the same thing is for all the other channels which are not in focus right now. Okay, so volume here. Now there's a whole bunch of menus and stuff which are also up here, okay, on this nicely laminated sheet again that somebody gave us. And if you want, if you want to get to those, it'll tell you, the first page of the laminated sheet will tell you how to get into programming mode. I will tell you right now, it's just this function button. You push that for a couple seconds and it gets into this mode. Come on, focus for me. There we go. And then you turn this dial here. You see it says at the top, menu mode number 81, 82, so you back and forth. I have it on RF gain. No, not on RF gain. I have it on the mic gain. I have it set for 90. Maybe we should go higher. Maybe we should have it all the way up. I'm not sure. But see, I can dial it up and down right there. But we'll do 90 until somebody says, you know. I do notice that the power meter, when I'm speaking on it, attenuates, does not attenuate much past 100. So I know that my audio is driving to a peak 100. So I'm not too worried about 90 being right. We're probably all right with 95 or even 100. Let's face it. How many of us actually turn down their SSB mic gain? But anyway, you get the point. If I push on this button for another couple seconds, it goes back to normal operation, and I can listen to the fine noises of channel 1. But that's it. I will now turn it off. Grunting sound. You always make the grunting sound. It's a very important thing. Makes people know that you're working. And then we hang the power switch, or the power for the tuner here. And there we go. Hopefully that made sense to somebody. The sun's going down, and since no light is in this room, I don't understand why the sensors aren't working. Maybe they've caught a virus. But that is essentially it. So there is our 60 meter and emergency everything else. Here is our HF, okay? I would love to fire up WinLink on this thing, but I don't think I need to do it. I've given you all the information, you know how to set it up and how to choose the right sound device to make it work. If I was to push check, it would start transmitting and it would work, and we would watch. As I say, we would watch the ALC and adjust it to make sure that we were not going over that mark and definitely driving it hard enough to get up to that mark. This is what I strongly believe is the most important thing about making HF WinLink work here in the Thurston County ECC. That said, I'm done. How long did this take me? Oh, look, I got a half an hour. I talked for half an hour? Oh, my goodness. I'm so good at that. Thank you for listening, everyone.